Hi everyone, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 1975 classic, Jaws. When a killer shark unleashes chaos on beach community off Long Island, it's up to a local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down. Jaws is one of the best blockbusters ever made, and this movie totally reminds me of summer, and it kind of makes me a little bit triggered. I didn't review this in the summer because this movie has very much summer vibes, but anyway, I had to continue my Steven Spielberg review series. This is a director that I genuinely want to get through all of his movies. He's such an inspiration to me, but he's also such a talented director, and it's like on my bucket list to finish all his movies. So here we are today reviewing Jaws. And before I get into my thoughts, let me know down below what you guys think of Jaws. Do you like it? Do you not like it? I feel like mostly everybody has seen Jaws, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. If it's been on your watch list for a long time and you're looking for a sign to watch it, this is it. Go watch Jaws because you won't want to miss it. One of my favorite things about this movie is how Steven Spielberg builds atmosphere. This movie is extremely suspenseful and it works in a really creative way right from the opening. In my opinion, a lot of 70s and 80s horror movies, or just horror movies back in the day, and I mean you can even say horror today sometimes, the first act feels kind of like a normal movie. Everything is calm, there's nothing going on that's unusual. But in this movie, we open with something unusual, and in fact, we open with something that the other characters haven't seen in the movie. So we're left with this impression of the shark killing the girl, and nobody else really knows about it. Like, before the characters even find out what's happening, the audience knows. They have to sit with that through the movie. And I think that was a very interesting choice of Spielberg and the editor to just bring in the first scene. That incredible shot, which is, in my opinion, one of the best horror openings of all time. And I love the point of view shots from the sharks when we get to see the feet of the girl dangling, and you're kind of just slowly getting closer as the shark is slowly gonna go eat her. It's fascinating, and to this day, it still kind of gives me chills. And when the movie does open and when people kind of are figuring out if we should be scared of the shark or not, the audience is kind of like, yeah, you should be scared because we saw what happened and it was not pretty. And I also really like the duality of the situation with the shark. I think there's a great commentary in how much consumerism plays a big role in certain things, because you have the mayor who does not want to close down the beaches because it's 4th of July. Everybody's gonna come down to the beach. Everybody goes to the beach on 4th of July. And then you have the sheriff who's kind of like, should we close it? Should we not? And one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, actually, it doesn't really have anything to do with the shark or anything. After the second kill, I believe so, the woman loses her son, and that sequence itself is fantastic. We'll talk about it right after. But I really like the conversation she has with the sheriff. She kind of looks at him and said, you knew the beach was dangerous, but you didn't close it. And it kind of shows that inner turmoil, because he was really worried the entire time. To everybody that has watched that movie, we saw his performance. He was terrified. Every 5 seconds when someone would scream, he'd stand up, but then eventually he realized it was nothing. When something was creeping in the corner, he thought it was a shark, but it was nothing. He had that in the back of his mind, but he didn't tell everybody to leave because he was thinking of the mayor. And I just really like that. I think it's a very interesting take that the writers had in this movie. It is something that affects it. It's not super easy to just close a town because there's somebody running it and there's people's opinions on it. And even when they suggested that the beach will be closed, the mayor then says, oh, for 24 hours, because he sees that people are upset about it. But then people are going to be upset when their kids start dying or their family starts dying because of the shark. So I think all of that dynamic that this movie has is one that I honestly overlooked a lot in my previous watches, but this time watching it, I really paid attention to it, and it played a big part in the antagonist of the film itself, because you could kind of even say that that's the main antagonist and not the shark, because the shark is just doing what sharks do, and the main antagonist is how you just react to that situation. And I think all of that is very interesting. But talking about the scene that kind of sprouted this conversation, that topic, the scene where we get one of my favorite shots in all of cinema is that dolly zoom, that really disoriented shot that the first time it was used was in Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. But I think in this movie is when it was kind of modernized, or at least I think more audiences and more directors, filmmakers started paying attention to that type of scene, and I think it works perfectly here. It's that scene, there's so much going on, and it's again putting the audience in front of the characters, because the audience already knows what the shark is doing, and every time we get those close-ups, those low-angle POV shots of under the water, kind of in the shark's perspective, we kind of know what's to come before the characters know what's to come, because they don't see the shark and we don't really see it either, but we're in the perspective of the shark, so we know what's coming, and we already saw what happened in the first place, so we know that this is going to be bloody. And I really enjoyed that. And I also like And I also like that we know that his kid is inside the beach, because it also adds a level of tension, and we just know there's so many kids going into the beach, and there's just so much going on. It's one of those scenes where you know something's gonna happen, but you don't quite know when it's gonna hit, and you kind of don't expect it at some point because you're like, okay, this is going on for too long. I think Spielberg paid so much attention to that with the suspense in that scene, because like I said, to this day, I still got chills from that. I get like a little bit of suspense. I'm like, get out of the beach, get out of the beach. And even if you watch it for the first time, I think you also feel like that, which makes it just really engaging. You're never really bored when you watch this movie. And that's another thing. Like, this is one of the best blockbusters because of that. You are entertained the entire way through. Even if you're in suspense, you're never ever like bored, or you're never over it. At least I'm never over it. And I'm always really invested to see what these characters are going to come up with. I also like that we rarely see the shark. I think today there's a lot of, I think in today's movies, there's a lot of shock value when it's like a shark movie, you know, like I'm thinking off the top of my head, The Meg. That movie shows sharks everywhere from like the little tidbits that I have seen on TV. Or I can even think of movies like The Shallows. I love that movie, but you know, you just get the shark over and over and over again. They kind of want to just emphasize on that, but I like that we don't really see the shark. We don't really need to see the shark to be scared, and I think that's when you know you have a good suspenseful story and a good suspenseful villain, I would say, because you don't need to rely on seeing everything to believe it, if that makes sense. And I think this movie takes advantage of that. I think Spielberg specifically showing when to cut the bloody scenes, what not to show, because if you think about it, this movie, it has kills, but it's not in your face at all. It's not super bloody. Like, when there's blood, but it's not something that I think about when I think of Jaws. I don't think of the bloodiest, you know, shark scenes. I genuinely just think of a suspenseful atmosphere that was created by not showing the shark, because in my head I can kind of imagine what's gonna happen, and I think that's scarier than showing it, because when you show something, that's the fact, that's true. You can't really, you know, change the perspective on that. But when it's just in my head, especially watching this as a younger kid, you think of things. And we have to talk about the performances, because I think they make the movie. I really like the characters. I love the scenes in the boat. I love the scenes of them interacting. I just think it's really interesting. But we have Robert Shaw as Quint. I just love him in the movie. I think he's a really great actor. The other movie that I've seen him in is in From Russia with Love, which I also think he did a really good job in. He just has this persona to him that just makes it so watchable, and he was extremely watchable. I love the monologue that he gives about the shark and how he's gonna catch it. Super good. I love his character. And then Roy Scheider as like the titular role of Brody, and I also really like him. I feel like you can kind of side with him with that turmoil that he has. He doesn't know what to really do. He wants to protect everybody, but at the same time he isn't really capable of doing it. Like, it's just a really good dynamic. I think he's a really great character, and again, I've pretty much overlooked that for a long time, but now rewatching it, I'm like, he's a really great character, and these set of characters make it even that much funner to enjoy the ride. And that's the thing, this movie, it's very balanced in tone. It knows exactly what it's trying to do, but it's not afraid to give in like some jokes and make it a little bit lighthearted at times, but it doesn't do it too much where it's coming out of nowhere. It genuinely feels like it flows from the opening to the middle to the end. Everything feels natural. All the conversations they have, the jokes feel like earned, but it's not, there's not too many jokes. Like, the balance of this movie and the tone is perfect. I think they nailed it, and I think they knew how far they should go and how little they should do as well. They just did an incredible job with that. And I have to talk about the score. John Williams, he's my favorite composer of all time. I think when you give John Williams a movie, he's gonna make magic, and he also made magic here. The score is suspenseful, so suspenseful, and it's one that I'm always thinking of. This is one of my favorite scores of all time, especially one of my favorite horror scores of all time, because it just gets you. I love it so much. I never get tired of the score, and I think paired with the scenes of the shark, it makes it extremely more suspenseful. If you guys want to watch a movie with great horrifying atmosphere, Jaws is the one to go. Like, this is a movie that I think everybody must see at least once in their life. I love this movie to death. I think it does everything that a great shark movie should do, but also a great movie should do in general. And honestly, it is, in my opinion, one of the best movies of all time and one of the best blockbusters of all time, and I'm going to give Jaws an A+. In my opinion, this is Steven Spielberg's masterpiece. You really could just tell early on that Spielberg had an eye for framing and an eye for camera, and you know, it's a little bit questionable towards the end of his career, at least where we're at right now, but I think in the early stages, seeing young Spielberg kind of blossom into what he became is incredible. Like from seeing Duel, The Sugarland Express, and now this, I'm super excited to check out the next one. I think the next one is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That'll be coming very, very soon for you guys. I know West Side Story is coming out soon, and I don't really have time to review all the Steven Spielberg movies before then, but don't worry, I will continue reviewing them after West Side Story comes out because I'm really invested in this and I'm just excited to keep on going. If you haven't given me your thoughts on Jaws yet, please make sure to do that down below. And thank you guys so much for supporting me through my horror series last month. I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. You can binge all the videos now. There's going to be a playlist, and make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, because there's a lot of videos coming this week. Although I'm not posting daily anymore, there's a lot of videos coming. This week is going to be packed with content, so make sure to subscribe. Turn on the post notifications so you can be notified whenever I upload. And that's it for me today, everybody. Make sure to follow me on all my socials, linked down below, and I'll make sure to see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.